some of the qualities of the experiences of this formula can be kind of scary for someone that's previously experienced seizures. Have you worked with people that have experienced that in the past? And also, if energy travels from the heart up to the brain, do you think maybe there's a correlation between the heart and people that have experienced these seizures?
Wow, great mind, great questions. One of the things that we see in the brain scans of people who have a profound mystical moment is it appears for a moment to look like a seizure because there's an eruption of energy in the brain. The breath can bring about that kind of involuntary motion, and it's pretty scary for a lot of people. I understand that. My advice to you is to not really spend a lot of time on the breath for now. If you could work on brain coherence and heart coherence, if the brain is distributing energy globally and equally, the energy that builds becomes more orderly. And we're actually creating algorithms to be able to produce the similar patterns you see in the heart, but three-dimensionally in the brain, because I believe when there's coherence in the brain, it produces those patterns. And so I would practice that, opening our focus, opening our awareness, and tuning in and working on getting your brain super coherent. Once your brain is coherent, you coordinate, you get your heart coherent, you get those two communicating, right? When the heart is in a love affair with the brain, when that kind of starts to happen and there's that kind of connection, there can only be good things that happen from that. Yes? Once that occurs and you have a period of time, and I'm very methodical about this. Let's say I'm making stuff up. You get a seizure twice a month or once a month, okay? And you start, or once every 3 months. And you start doing the work. My thing would be, I would like to see if I could elongate the interval between one seizure and another seizure. It would be really cool to see if it went 6 months instead of 5 months. I have an intention now. We see that when people have an intention with what they're doing, somehow their brain goes a little bit more in the process, and their brain changes a little faster. So have the intention. Okay, I'm a scientist. It happens every month. I'm going to see if I can go 6 weeks to exactly the same moment as at my meditation. See if I can make that. If that's the case, then the next thing is, let's see if I can go 2 months. If I'm stressed out and my brain moves out to incoherence, I got to work really hard to get back, and I got to make sure that I do it and not give up. So the experiment then, if you can elongate the duration, say for 6 months or whatever, then it would be a good time to start slowly with intention and methodically drawing that energy up into your brain, and micro-contractions, not big breath, slow, steady breath, and it's the muscular contraction and that subtle pumping that you're just going to just isolate those crystals and push that fluid. You're increasing what's called the intrathecal pressure. That's the pressure inside that system. And when you do that, push that up against the crystals, that's what begins to activate them. So you get really specific. And people who do that, like that are pregnant, as an example, we tell them slow, steady breath all the way up to the top. And then it's very subtle micro-contractions. It's the contractions that you're doing with just that little bit of pressure that begins to isolate the act. So you got to go slow and steady. But make sure that there's an improvement in the time that you have your seizures, so that, and a lot of times this happens for certain people. It's really funny because you look at a brain scan and a lot of times you see an enormous amount of dissonance, really a tremendous amount of disorder going on in the brain. And you think the person's doing it wrong, but in the next moment there's an incredible amount of organization or reorderliness that takes place. They're just unhooking. They're in chaos. And their nervous system's out of order. And if they apply the formula, there's this reorganization. So people who have brain symptoms a lot of time, when they reach that point when there's that kind of dissonance, they'll have the feeling like a seizure's coming on, or they're feeling, ooh, I don't know about this. And that's because the brain's moving and changing. So you got to go slow and you got to go steady. But set an intention to see if you can lengthen the intervals by creating more brain coherence and heart coherence.